The Type 147mm anti-tank gun was an anti-tank gun developed by the Imperial Japanese Army, and used in combat during World War II. The Type 1 number was designated for the year the gun was accepted, 2601 in the Japanese Imperial Year calendar, or 1941 in the Gregorian calendar. History and development. The Type 147mm anti-tank gun was accepted into service in 1942. The design originated as an improvement to the prototype experimental Type 9747 mm anti-tank gun, which was tested between 1938 and 1939. The prototype weighed 567 kilograms with a barrel length of 2,515 millimeters, a traverse range of plus or minus 50 degrees and an elevation range of between -10 and plus 20 degrees, and a muzzle velocity of 730 meters per second. The prototype was not accepted into service because it was considered to not have sufficient performance. After the Nomonhan incident, the Imperial Japanese Army started the development of a new anti-tank gun, considering that the Type 94-37mm anti-tank gun would likely be ineffective against the new Soviet tanks. The design was the first completely indigenous anti-tank gun design completed in Japan, and production was assigned to the Army's Osaka arsenal. In terms of performance, the design was still somewhat inferior to advanced contemporary designs in Western nations, but was considered suitable by the Imperial Japanese Army General Staff due to the anticipated lack of armor by the National Revolutionary Army of the Republic of China, and by the belief that Japan would face only light tanks fielded by the Allied nations in case of a more general war. The Type 147mm gun was introduced in 1942, and approximately 2,300 were produced. Design. The Type 147mm gun was a relative modern design compared to other Japanese Second World War designs, being relatively light and easy to handle. As with many Japanese designs, it had a very low profile and was intended to be operated from a kneeling or prone position. The gun had a gun shield to protect the gunner. The carriage appears to have adopted a number of design features from the Soviet Zhik A45mm anti-tank gun, a number of examples of which were captured by the Japanese during the Battle of Kharkand Gol in 1939. It used a semi-automatic breech block with a horizontal sliding wedge. When the gun was fired, the spent shell casing was automatically ejected, and upon loading a fresh shell, the breech block closed automatically. A hydro-spring recoil mechanism was housed under the barrel. The weapon had a split trail which opened to an angle of 60 degrees for firing to improve stability. Transport was by towing behind a truck a horse, via two steel disc wheels fitted with sponge rubber-filled tires. Ammunition. The Type 1 fired 5 types of shells: Type 1 APHE, Type 1 He, Toko, Tokuotsu, and Type 4 AP. Type 1 APHE shell. The APHE shell weighed 3.37 pounds and used a Mark Chapter 2 base fuse, the complete round weighing 6.1 pounds. It had a small explosive charge of 0.04 pounds consisting of RDX phlegmatized with 10% paraffin. The round also had a tracer. Type 1 He shell. The He shell weighed 3.08 pounds and used the Type 88 instantaneous, a short delay fuse with a complete round weighing 5.4 pounds. It contained 0.2 pounds of explosive, consisting of a small block of picric acid and a larger block of TNT. Combat record. The Type 147mm AT gun was introduced to combat service only in 1941, with the intent of it replacing the Type 94 37mm anti-tank gun. It was very effective for its role, though not always available in sufficient numbers. It had a high rate of fire and with AP shells was capable of perforating the front armor of the M4A6 at 800 yards, though standard doctrine was to wait until tanks got closer if possible to ensure good shot placement. The weaker APHE shell, while incapable of penetrating the M4 medium's 93mm of effective front armor, could still penetrate the tank's side, the most likely part of the tank to get hit at a distance of more than a kilometer. It was issued to armored units as well as independent anti-tank units, and was fielded in a wide variety of areas, but most notably the Philippines and Okinawa, and continued to be used with diminishing effectiveness until the end of World War II. After World War II, Type 147mm AT gun was used in Indonesian national revolution by the Indonesian Army. In the Battle of Surabaya, Dutch forces and British forces suffered moderate casualties among the convoy, which consisted M3 Stuart and M4 Sherman. Type 147mm tank gun. A variant known as the Type 147mm tank gun was used as the main armament of the Type 97 Shinhatuk IHA, Type 1 IHI and Type 3 Kakai tanks. The tank gun had the following specifications: caliber 47mm, barrel length 2.250 meters, L angle of fire -15 to +20 degrees, AZ angle of fire 20 degrees, muzzle velocity 810 meters per second, penetration 55 millimeters, 100 meters, 40 millimeters, 530 millimeters, 1000 meters.